A little girl living on the streets approached a millionaire at a restaurant and told him his wife had poisoned his drink. The next morning, a luxury car was parked near her humble home. Chicago, 2025. The windy city's skyline glittered like a jewel box against the darkening sky, each skyscraper competing to touch the clouds. But down in the shadow of those gleaming towers, 7-year-old Haley Murphy stood on a broken sidewalk, her small hands clutching a bucket of roses. Fresh flowers. "Beautiful roses," she called out, her voice sweet, but strong enough to carry over the constant hum of hovercars and the chatter of pedestrians hurrying past. The spring air carried a chill that seeped through her worn pink jacket, but Haley didn't mind. Her grandmother always said that feeling meant you were alive. And being alive was the greatest gift of all. "Hold the bucket higher, sweetheart," Martha Murphy instructed, adjusting her own weathered shawl. At 72, Martha's hands were gnarled with arthritis, but they moved with practiced precision as she arranged the remaining flowers. The fancy folks coming out of Giovanni's will want something pretty for their dates. Giovanni's was just one of the high-end restaurants that lined this particular block. A strategic location Martha had chosen years ago. The wealthy diners who frequented these establishments often bought Haley's flowers out of a mixture of pity and superstition, a small price to pay for momentary absolution from their privilege. Haley nodded and lifted the bucket, but her attention had already drifted to a couple emerging from the restaurant. The woman laughed too loudly, her diamond earrings catching the streetlight. The man beside her smiled, but Haley saw what no one else could see: the darkness behind his eyes, the tension in his shoulders as he reached for his wallet. "No, Grandma," Haley whispered, pulling back as Martha nudged her toward them. "He's angry inside. He'll say mean things to us." Martha sighed, having learned long ago not to question her granddaughter's intuitions. Haley had always been different. Even as a baby, she seemed to know things, feel things, that others couldn't. It started after Sarah, Haley's mother, had died in what the police called a tragic accident, when Haley was just 5 months old. "All right, little star, we'll wait for the next ones," Martha conceded. Sure enough, when another flower seller approached the couple, the man snapped at her to "Get that wilted garbage away" from them. Haley absently rubbed at the birthmark on her wrist, a small, perfectly formed star that seemed almost to shimmer under certain light. Martha's eyes followed the movement, worry creasing her already lined face. "Is it bothering you again?" she asked quietly. "No, it just tingles sometimes," Haley replied, her eyes still scanning the crowd with an intensity unusual for a child her age. Martha knew the mark was more than just a birthmark. It was identical to the one Sarah had, and to the one she had glimpsed years ago on the wrist of Jessica Brooks, when she had delivered her brother Daniel into the world. The mark of the Brooks lineage, though no one in that illustrious family would acknowledge any connection to the girl selling flowers on the street. "Grandma, tell me about my mom again," Haley said suddenly, her bright eyes, hazel with flecks of gold, just like Sarah's. Looking up expectantly, Martha's heart squeezed. "Your mother was the bravest woman I ever knew," she began, repeating the sanitized version of the story she'd crafted over the years. "She was beautiful and smart and loved you more than anything in this world. And the accident, the car crash," Martha swallowed hard. There had been no car crash. But how do you tell a child that her mother had been found floating in the Chicago River? Her death ruled a suicide despite the bruises on her neck. "It happened so fast," Martha said instead. "But she made sure you were safe with me first. That's the kind of mother she was, always putting you first." Haley nodded solemnly, as if hearing a confirmation of something she already knew. Sometimes Martha wondered just how much the child sensed about the truth. "Look, Grandma, those people look nice," Haley said suddenly, pointing to an older couple exiting an upscale fusion restaurant called Azure. Before Martha could respond, Haley was already skipping toward them, her bucket of roses swinging. Martha watched as her granddaughter approached the couple, her heart both swelling with pride and constricting with fear. In a city like Chicago, innocence was as fragile as the petals Haley sold. The woman in the cashmere coat bent down to Haley's level, her face softening as she selected a rose. Martha relaxed slightly, but remained vigilant. 7 years of raising Haley on her own had taught her that danger could wear the kindest faces. As the evening wore on, their bucket gradually emptied. Martha's joints ached more than usual. A storm was coming. She could feel it in her bones. The medication that might have eased her pain was far beyond their means. Another luxury reserved for those who lived in the gleaming towers above. Just a few more. "Grandma, then we can go home," Haley assured her, noticing her grandmother's discomfort. The child was always so perceptive. Martha nodded, gratitude and sadness mingling in her chest. Their home was a tiny one-bedroom apartment in Riverside, a neighborhood that had once been solidly working class, but was now one of the last affordable areas for people like them, as gentrification crept ever closer. As they packed up their meager earnings, Martha noticed Haley staring at a digital billboard displaying the face of Daniel Brooks, CEO of Brooks Holdings. Alongside the headline, "Brooks celebrates 50 years of innovation." "Do you know him, Grandma?" Haley asked, her head tilted curiously. Martha's throat tightened. "I knew his family a long time ago," she answered carefully. "He looks sad," Haley observed, "like he lost something important and can't find it." Martha shivered, and not from the cold. Sometimes Haley's insights frightened her with their accuracy. "Come on, little star. The rain's coming," she said, taking Haley's small hand in hers. "We've got enough for soup tonight, and maybe even some of that chocolate milk you like." As they walked away, neither noticed the black car that had been parked across the street for the past hour, nor the tinted window that rolled down just enough for a camera lens to capture them before disappearing back into the darkness. Thunder rumbled in the distance, a harbinger of the storm about to break over Chicago, and over the carefully constructed life Martha had built to protect her granddaughter from the truth of who she really was. 50 floors above Chicago's bustling streets, Daniel Brooks stood at the floor-to-ceiling window of his penthouse office. Watching storm clouds gather on the horizon, at 45, he cut an imposing figure. Tall, with salt and pepper hair that enhanced rather than diminished his appeal. The Chicago Tribune had once called him America's most eligible bachelor, a title he'd found amusing given how little he cared for the social whirl that consumed so many of his peers. "Mr. Brooks," his assistant's voice came through the intercom. "Ms. Hughes is here to see you." Daniel straightened his already impeccable tie. "Send her in." The door opened to reveal Charlotte Hughes, 38, heiress to the Hughes pharmaceutical empire and, as of 6 months ago, his fiancé. Their engagement had made headlines across the business world, heralded as the merger of the decade, though Daniel had never thought of it in those cold terms. "Darling," Charlotte purred, crossing the room in a cloud of expensive perfume. Her crimson dress hugged her figure perfectly, her dark hair swept into an elegant updo. "You look stressed. Problems with the Tokyo deal?" Daniel accepted her kiss on his cheek, noting how it left no trace of her signature red lipstick. Charlotte was too meticulous for such mistakes. "Just the usual complications, nothing I can't handle." He guided her to the sitting area where a bottle of champagne waited in an ice bucket. "How was your lunch with the charity board?" "Tedious," Charlotte sighed, accepting the flute he offered. "But necessary. Public image is everything these days, especially with the Brooks Holdings anniversary gala tonight." The gala, Daniel had almost forgotten, despite the months of planning. 50 years since his father had founded the company from nothing, or so the official story went. Daniel knew better now, but those were thoughts he kept buried deep. "I've arranged for us to make quite the entrance," Charlotte continued, sipping her champagne. "The press will be covering it extensively. Edward insisted on it. Edward Hughes, Charlotte's father and the CEO of Hughes Pharmaceuticals. The man had been pushing for this marriage harder than either of the participants." "I'm sure he did," Daniel replied, his tone neutral. Charlotte's perfectly shaped eyebrow arched. "You don't approve of my father's interest in our union. I just find it curious that he's so invested in a relationship he's not part of. Daddy's just protective," Charlotte said, her laugh a practiced trill. "Besides, the Hughes-Brooks partnership will revolutionize the pharmaceutical industry. Everyone wins. Everyone except Jessica," a voice whispered in Daniel's mind. His sister would have seen right through this arrangement. But Jessica was gone, had been for 7 years now. The official report said she died in a car accident while vacationing in Europe, but the body had never been found. Just another Brooks family mystery, swept away like so many others. "Daniel, you're drifting again," Charlotte's voice had an edge to it now. "Sorry," he said, focusing back on her. Focusing. "Just thinking about the speech I need to give tonight." Her expression softened. "You'll be magnificent, as always. The public adores you. The self-made man who doubled the Brooks fortune in a decade. Even if we both know you're nothing like your public image." There was something in her tone that made him uneasy. But before he could pursue it, his phone buzzed. The caller ID read, "Caleb, I need to take this," he said, standing. Charlotte waved him off. "Go ahead, I'll freshen up before we leave." Daniel stepped onto his private balcony, closing the door behind him. "What is it, Caleb?" "The surveillance photos you requested." "Sir." Caleb's voice was as steady and unreadable as ever. "I've sent them to your secure server. And the resemblance is striking." Daniel's heart rate quickened. "Are you certain?" "I'd stake my life on it, sir. The child has the mark." The mark. The small star-shaped birthmark that appeared on the left wrist of every true Brooks descendant. A genetic quirk that had fascinated his father's doctors for years. Daniel had one. Jessica had one. And now, apparently, so did a little girl selling flowers on the street. "Keep monitoring them," Daniel instructed. "But discreetly, if anyone else is watching." "I understand, sir. Also, the Weather Service has issued a severe storm warning for tonight. Should I arrange for an earlier departure to the Crown?" The Crown, Chicago's most exclusive restaurant, where the Brooks Holdings anniversary gala would take place in just a few hours. Daniel glanced at the darkening sky. "No, keep to the schedule. I don't want to give Charlotte's father any reason to think I'm avoiding him." "Very well, sir. The car will be ready at 7. Daniel ended the call and stared out at the city sprawled below him. Somewhere down there was a child who might be the key to unraveling the mystery that had haunted him for 7 years. What really happened to Jessica? His reverie was interrupted by a knock at his office door. Caleb entered, his tall frame impeccably suited as always. At 40, Caleb Washington had been Daniel's driver and head of security for 15 years. The man's loyalty was unquestionable, his discretion absolute. "Sir, your tuxedo has been pressed, and I've brought the Brooks cufflinks as requested." Daniel nodded, taking the velvet box Caleb offered. Inside lay 2 platinum cufflinks, each bearing the Brooks star, the same shape as the birthmark he bore on his wrist. "Thank you, Caleb. Will you be joining us at the Crown tonight?" "Of course, sir. I'll remain in the background as usual." Something in Caleb's tone made Daniel look at him more closely. Was that tension in his normally impassive face? "Is everything all right, Caleb?" "Yes, sir, just concerned about the storm." Daniel might have pressed further. But Charlotte emerged from the private bathroom, her makeup refreshed, her smile dazzling. "All set, darling. The car should be waiting." As they rode the private elevator down to the lobby, Daniel caught Charlotte checking her phone repeatedly, her fingers moving quickly over the screen. "Problem?" he asked casually. "Just Daddy being Daddy," she replied, sliding the phone into her clutch. "He wants to make sure everything goes perfectly tonight." The sleek black car waited at the curb, Caleb holding the door open for them. As Charlotte slid in first, Daniel caught Caleb's eye. "Stay alert tonight," he said quietly. "Always, sir," Caleb replied, his expression giving nothing away. The drive to the Crown was silent, the tension between Daniel and Charlotte palpable. Outside, the first fat raindrops began to hit the windshield. "Looks like we're in for quite a storm," Charlotte observed. Daniel nodded, thinking of the little girl with the star on her wrist. "Yes, I believe we are." The rain came down in sheets. By the time Martha and Haley reached their apartment in Riverside, thunder crashed overhead as they hurried up the creaking stairs to the 3rd floor, their earnings from the day's flower sales tucked safely in Martha's worn purse. "That was a big one," Haley exclaimed as lightning flashed, briefly illuminating their tiny living room through the single window. She kicked off her damp shoes and placed them neatly by the door, one of the many small habits that made her seem older than her 7 years. Martha hung their wet jackets on the hooks by the door and headed straight for the kitchenette. "I'll heat up that soup now. You should change into something dry, little star." Haley nodded and padded to the bedroom they shared. But instead of changing, she found herself drawn to the window. Below, Chicago was transforming under the storm's assault. The streets glistened like black rivers. Pedestrians scurried for shelter, and the distant skyscrapers appeared and disappeared behind veils of rain. Something about the storm made her skin prickle, especially the star-shaped mark on her wrist. It felt warm tonight, almost humming with energy. Haley had learned not to mention these sensations to her grandmother. They only made the worry lines on Martha's face deepen. "Haley, did you change?" Martha called from the kitchen. "Sorry, Grandma, doing it now." She quickly pulled on dry clothes, but her mind remained elsewhere as the storm intensified. Across town, the anniversary gala for Brooks Holdings was in full swing at the Crown. The restaurant's top floor offered a panoramic view of the storm-lashed city, the dramatic weather providing an unexpected backdrop to the evening's celebrations. Inside, under crystal chandeliers, Chicago's elite mingled and murmured, champagne flutes in hand. Daniel Brooks moved through the crowd with practiced ease, accepting congratulations and making appropriate small talk. Charlotte remained at his side, her crimson dress ensuring she stood out in the sea of traditional black attire. Daniel Brooks, a portly man with a florid face, approached, hand extended. "Congratulations on 50 remarkable years of Brooks innovation." "Thank you, Senator," Daniel replied, shaking the offered hand. "Though I can only take credit for the last 20 of those years." "Always so modest," Charlotte interjected smoothly. "Daniel has doubled the company's value since taking over as CEO. His father would be proud." Daniel's smile didn't reach his eyes. His father, Harrison Brooks, had been dead for 5 years. But his shadow still loomed large over both the company and his son's life. "Speaking of your father," the senator lowered his voice conspiratorially, "I heard Edward Hughes was instrumental in some of the early Brooks patents. Is that why this union is finally happening?" He gestured between Daniel and Charlotte. Before Daniel could respond, a deep voice cut in. "People do love their rumors, don't they, Senator?" Edward Hughes had appeared beside them, his silver hair immaculately styled, his smile not quite reaching his eyes, a trait he shared with his future son-in-law. At 65, he remained an imposing figure in pharmaceutical circles, known as much for his ruthless business tactics as for his charitable donations. "Edward," Daniel acknowledged with a slight nod. "I was just telling Daniel how pleased I am about the upcoming merger. Marriage." The senator chuckled at his own joke. Edward's smile tightened. "Yes, well, good business and good family often go hand in hand. Don't they?" He placed a proprietary hand on Charlotte's shoulder. "I've always thought Daniel could use a partner with Charlotte's acumen." "Daddy," Charlotte admonished lightly. Though she leaned into his touch, Daniel's phone vibrated in his pocket. "If you'll excuse me," he said, stepping away from the group. He moved to a quieter corner of the room before checking the message from Caleb. "Security breach at the east entrance. Handled, no concern." Daniel frowned. Caleb would never message about a routine security matter during an event, unless it was significant. He scanned the room, locating his head of security standing discreetly by the main doors, his expression as impassive as ever, but his posture subtly tense. Meanwhile, back in Riverside, Haley sat at their small kitchen table, pushing her soup around more than eating it. The storm outside had intensified, and with it, the strange feeling that had been building inside her all day. "Grandma," she said suddenly, "I need to go to the Crown tonight." Martha's spoon clattered against her bowl. "What on earth are you talking about, child?" "I don't know," Haley admitted, her young face scrunched in concentration. "But someone there is in danger. I can feel it." Martha set down her spoon carefully. "Haley, the Crown is all the way downtown. It's pouring rain, and it's a fancy restaurant where they'd never let us in. Whatever you're feeling, it can't—" "It's like before," Haley interrupted, her eyes wide and earnest. "Like when I knew Mr. Peterson was going to have his heart attack before it happened. Or when I told you not to take the subway the day it broke down. Something bad is going to happen, and I need to be there." Martha's face paled. She had never been able to explain Haley's uncanny intuitions, but she couldn't deny they had proven accurate time and again. "Even if I believed you, we can't possibly go out in this storm," Martha reasoned. Though her voice lacked conviction, Haley stood up, her small face set with determination. "Then I'll go by myself. Haley Murphy, you will do no such thing." But the argument was interrupted by a knock at their door, an unusual occurrence at any time, let alone during a storm at dinner hour. Martha frowned, moving cautiously to answer it. On the threshold stood Mrs. Navarro from apartment 3B, looking flustered. "Martha, I'm so sorry to bother you, but my sister just called." Her husband's in the hospital, and I need to go right away. I've got a taxi waiting, but I can't take Lily with me. Could you possibly watch her for a few hours?" Martha hesitated, glancing back at Haley's determined face, then at the storm raging outside. "Of course," she finally said, stepping aside to let Mrs. Navarro usher in her 12-year-old daughter. As the door closed behind Mrs. Navarro, Martha turned to find Haley already pulling on her raincoat. "Haley, please, Grandma," Haley pleaded. "I know it's crazy, but I have to go. Something terrible will happen if I don't." Martha looked from Haley to Lily, who had settled on their couch with her phone, seemingly oblivious to the tension in the room. "I can't let you go alone," Martha said firmly. "And I can't leave Lily." Lightning flashed. Thunder cracked directly overhead. And in that moment, Haley made her decision. As Martha turned to check on a startled Lily, Haley slipped out the door. She was halfway down the stairs before she heard her grandmother calling her name. But by then, the storm had swallowed her small figure into the night. Haley darted through the rain-slicked streets of Riverside, her small sneakers splashing through puddles that sometimes reached her ankles. The downpour had emptied the streets of most pedestrians, which made it easier for her to slip through the neighborhood unnoticed. Her heart hammered against her ribs, partly from exertion, partly from the knowledge that she had never disobeyed her grandmother so completely before. But the pulling sensation was too strong to ignore. Someone was in danger, and somehow, inexplicably, Haley knew she was the only one who could prevent it. A passing city bus sent a wave of water cascading over the sidewalk. Haley jumped back just in time, then looked up at the bus's destination display, downtown Michigan Avenue. Without hesitation, she dashed toward the stop, arriving just as the bus pulled away. "Wait!" she cried, waving her arms frantically. The driver, spotting the soaked child in his rearview mirror, reluctantly brought the bus to a halt. The doors hissed open. "Kid, what are you doing out in this mess?" he asked as Haley climbed aboard, dripping on the floor. "I need to get to the Crown restaurant," she said, trying to sound as adult as possible. "It's an emergency." The driver raised an eyebrow. "The Crown? That fancy place? You got money for this ride?" Haley reached into her pocket and pulled out the crumpled bills she'd saved from her flower sales, money she'd been putting aside for a birthday present for her grandmother. "This enough?" she asked, holding it out. The driver sighed, took a single bill, and waved her toward a seat. "The Crown's on Michigan Avenue. I'll tell you when we're close." "Thank you," Haley said, relief washing over her. She settled into a seat near the front, her clothes plastered to her small frame, her dark hair dripping onto her shoulders. Meanwhile, at the Crown, Daniel excused himself from yet another tedious conversation and made his way to the bar. The storm outside had intensified, occasional flashes of lightning illuminating the panoramic windows that showcased Chicago's skyline. "Scotch, neat," he told the bartender, loosening his bow tie slightly. 50 years of Brooks Holdings should have been a milestone worth celebrating, but all Daniel felt was a profound weariness. "Drowning your sorrows at your own party." Charlotte appeared at his elbow, accepting a flute of champagne from the bartender. "Just taking a breather," Daniel replied, raising his glass slightly before taking a sip. Charlotte studied him. "You've been distracted all evening. Is it the Tokyo deal?" Among other things, he didn't elaborate. How could he explain that he was preoccupied with thoughts of a child who might be his niece, the daughter of the sister everyone believed was dead? Charlotte's crimson lips curved into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Well, try to look more enthusiastic. The photographer from the Tribune is here, and Daddy wants some shots of us together for tomorrow's business section." As if summoned by the mention of his name, Edward Hughes materialized beside them, his hand coming to rest possessively on Charlotte's shoulder. "There you are, both of you. Perfect." Edward signaled to someone across the room, presumably the photographer. "Daniel, I was hoping we could have a word in private before the speeches begin, a matter concerning our joint ventures." Daniel's instincts, honed by years of high-stakes business dealings, immediately went on alert. "Of course, the restaurant has a private lounge down the hall." "Wonderful, Charlotte. Darling, why don't you mingle? Make sure the board members feel appreciated." Charlotte nodded, her eyes narrowing slightly as she glanced between the two men before sauntering away. As Daniel led Edward toward the private lounge, his phone vibrated again. Another message from Caleb. Subject has left Riverside apartment alone, heading downtown. Daniel's blood ran cold. The child was coming here. Tonight. He quickened his pace, suddenly eager to conclude whatever business Edward wanted to discuss. The private lounge was a study in understated luxury. Leather chairs, a small bar, and windows that offered a more intimate view of the storm-lashed city. "Scotch," Daniel offered, moving to the bar. "Please." Edward settled into one of the chairs, watching Daniel with calculating eyes. "You know, I've often thought about how differently things might have turned out if your sister had accepted my son's proposal all those years ago." Daniel set a glass in front of Edward, his face carefully neutral. "Jessica made her choices." "Yes, she did. Unfortunate ones in the end." Edward swirled the amber liquid in his glass. "But we're here to discuss the future, not the past. Specifically, the role Hughes Pharmaceuticals will play once you and Charlotte are married." Daniel's phone rang. Caleb again, but he silenced it, focusing on Edward. "I thought we'd agreed that Brooks and Hughes would remain separate entities." Edward laughed, a sound devoid of humor. "Separate but aligned. Charlotte will naturally expect a position on your board as your wife, and I would hope for certain accommodations regarding the new cancer drug your R&D department has been developing. The CB27 formula is proprietary Brooks technology," Daniel said firmly. "Is it?" Edward's smile turned predatory. "I have documents suggesting otherwise, documents that might interest the SEC, should our negotiations hit a snag." Before Daniel could respond, his phone vibrated insistently. This time, he glanced at the screen. 3 missed calls from Caleb and a text that simply read, "Urgent." "Excuse me," Daniel said. Standing, "I need to take this." He stepped into the hallway, dialing Caleb immediately. "Sir?" Caleb's voice was tense. "The child is in the building. She somehow talked her way past the front entrance security. She's looking for you." "What? How?" "I don't know, sir, but there's more. I've been monitoring Hughes's communications as you requested. He's made several calls tonight to unknown numbers, and his security detail has been behaving erratically." Daniel pinched the bridge of his nose. "Keep an eye on the girl. I'll wrap this up with Edward and meet you by the kitchen entrance." When he returned to the lounge, Edward was on his phone. Speaking in hushed tones, he hung up abruptly as Daniel entered. "Something wrong?" Edward asked, his concern clearly feigned. "Just business. Never stops. Even at a celebration." Daniel took a deliberate sip of his scotch. "Now, about these documents you mentioned," the conversation continued. A verbal chess match between 2 masters of corporate strategy. But Daniel's mind was elsewhere. Who was this child? And why had she come looking for him tonight of all nights? Downstairs, Haley had managed to slip past the distracted maitre d' during a commotion caused by a party of late arrivals. Her soaked appearance drew curious and disapproving glances from the restaurant staff. But she moved with such purpose that no one immediately stopped her. The star mark on her wrist burned now, guiding her like a compass through the elegant restaurant toward the upper floors where the gala was being held. She found a service elevator, slipping inside just as a waiter emerged with an empty tray. Upstairs, she followed the sound of clinking glasses and muted conversation, her heart racing. The danger was close now. She could feel it, but what form it would take, and how she was supposed to prevent it, remained frustratingly unclear as she peered around a corner into the main reception area. She spotted a woman in a striking red dress placing something into a glass before setting it down at an empty table. The gesture was casual, unremarkable even, but Haley felt a jolt of certainty. This was it. This was the danger she had sensed. Haley's heart pounded as she watched the woman in red, Charlotte, walk away from the table with a satisfied smile. The glass she'd tampered with sat innocuously among the others, waiting for its intended recipient. Without hesitation, Haley slipped from her hiding place and made a beeline through the crowd of elegantly dressed guests. She reached the table just as Daniel Brooks emerged from the hallway, his expression tense as he surveyed the room. Their eyes met briefly across the crowded space. A child in soaking wet clothes and a powerful CEO, and something electric passed between them, a flash of recognition. Though they'd never met, Daniel's gaze shifted to Charlotte, who was approaching him with 2 champagne glasses in hand. Understanding dawned on his face as Haley pointed urgently at one of the glasses. "Signor," Não beba isso, Haley said in her grandmother's native Portuguese, before quickly switching to English. Sir, don't drink that. The woman in red put something bad in your glass when you went to answer the phone. She wants your company, not your heart. Daniel froze, staring at the bedraggled child before him, the intensity in her eyes. He'd seen it before, in Jessica's eyes, when she'd confronted their father about the falsified research data 7 years ago, just days before her disappearance. Who are you? He whispered, but Charlotte had reached them, her smile faltering slightly at the sight of the soaking wet child standing beside her fiancé. Daniel, darling, who's your little friend? Her voice dripped with false sweetness as she extended one of the glasses toward him. Daniel's years in the business world had taught him to mask his emotions. He smiled pleasantly, accepting the glass. Just a lost child, I believe. Perhaps she's related to one of the waitstaff. Charlotte's eyes narrowed slightly. Security should be notified. This is a private event. Of course, Daniel agreed, raising his glass in a toast. To our future. Charlotte's smile returned as she clinked her glass against his, but at the last moment with a sleight of hand that would have impressed a magician. Daniel switched their glasses. To our future, Charlotte echoed, bringing the glass to her crimson lips. Haley watched with wide eyes as the woman took a long sip. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Charlotte's hand flew to her throat, her glass shattering on the marble floor as she collapsed. Chaos erupted. Guests screamed. Security rushed forward, and someone called for a doctor. In the commotion, Haley felt a strong hand close around her upper arm. She looked up to find Caleb, Daniel's driver, looking down at her with an unreadable expression. This way, he said quietly, guiding her toward a service exit. But I need to, Haley began. Mr. Brooks wants you safe. Caleb cut her off, his voice brooking no argument. As they slipped away from the pandemonium, Haley glanced back to see Daniel kneeling beside Charlotte's convulsing form, his face a mask of concern that didn't reach his eyes. Beyond him, Edward Hughes pushed through the crowd, his face contorted with rage and shock. Caleb ushered Haley into a service elevator and down to the parking garage where Daniel's sleek black car waited. Get in, he instructed, opening the rear door. My grandma doesn't know where I am, Haley protested weakly, though she climbed into the car's plush interior. She'll be worried. We'll take care of that, Caleb assured her, his voice gentler now. You're safe. Back in Riverside, Martha was frantic. She'd searched the surrounding blocks, calling Haley's name into the storm until her voice grew hoarse. Now, soaked to the bone, she climbed the stairs back to their apartment where Lily waited nervously. Did you find her? The 12-year-old asked, glancing up from her phone. Martha shook her head, her hands trembling as she reached for her ancient flip phone. She should call the police, but she knew what would happen if she did. Child Protective Services would get involved. They'd ask questions about Haley's mother, about the star-shaped birthmark, about their precarious financial situation. A knock at the door startled her from her thoughts. She rushed to answer it, hope blooming in her chest. But instead of Haley, she found herself face to face with a tall, elegant woman holding an umbrella. Mrs. Murphy, the woman asked, her voice cultured but kind. My name is Dr. Lauren Reed. I'm here about your granddaughter. Martha's knees nearly buckled. Is she hurt? No, Dr. Reed assured her quickly. She's perfectly safe. She's with Daniel Brooks. Martha felt the blood drain from her face. After all these years of hiding, of careful anonymity, the past had finally caught up with them. How did she find him? Dr. Reed's expression softened with confusion. I think perhaps it was the other way around. May I come in? We have a lot to discuss, and I've been sent to bring you to her. 20 minutes later, after making arrangements for Lily to be picked up by her mother, Martha found herself in the back of a luxury sedan, heading downtown through the still raging storm. Dr. Reed sat beside her, occasionally checking her phone for updates. Is she really all right? Martha asked for the third time. She's fine, Dr. Reed assured her. Quite the remarkable child from what I understand. She may have saved Mr. Brooks's life tonight. Martha's hands twisted in her lap. She's always had intuitions, like her mother, Dr. Reed asked gently. Martha's head snapped up. You knew Jessica? No, Dr. Reed admitted, but Daniel has spoken of her often. He never believed she died in that accident. The car turned onto Lakeshore Drive, Chicago's glittering skyline partially obscured by the storm. Martha gazed out at the rain-lashed waters of Lake Michigan, feeling as though she were being swept into a current she'd spent 7 years trying to avoid. "Where are we going?" she asked suddenly, realizing they weren't heading toward the downtown district. "Mr. Brooks's residence," Dr. Reed replied. He thought it would be more private than his office or a hospital. Hospital. Martha's anxiety spiked. "You said Haley wasn't hurt." "She isn't," Dr. Reed assured her. "But you are." She nodded toward Martha's hands, which were visibly swollen and discolored. "Rheumatoid arthritis." Martha nodded reluctantly. "Among other things. I'm a rheumatologist," Dr. Reed explained. "Mr. Brooks asked me to examine you while we sort this situation out." The car turned into an exclusive lakefront neighborhood, eventually pulling up to a gate where security guards checked their credentials before allowing them to proceed up a winding driveway. When the mansion came into view, Martha gasped despite herself. 3 stories of modernist architecture overlooking the lake, every window aglow with warm light against the dark storm. "This is where Daniel Brooks lives?" she asked faintly. Dr. Reed nodded. "One of his properties, yes," as the car came to a stop under a covered portico. The front door opened. Haley burst out, now dry and wearing what appeared to be brand new clothes, several sizes too large for her small frame. "Grandma," she cried, rushing forward as Martha emerged from the car. Martha enveloped her granddaughter in a fierce hug, tears mixing with the rain on her cheeks. "Don't you ever scare me like that again," she whispered into Haley's hair. "I'm sorry," Haley replied, pulling back to look up at her grandmother's face. "But I had to go, and I was right. The lady in the red dress tried to poison Mr. Brooks, but he switched their glasses when I warned him, and then she fell down. And then Mr. Caleb brought me here, and they gave me hot chocolate and new clothes and—" "Slow down," Martha interrupted, her mind spinning as she tried to process this torrent of information. Looking up, she saw Daniel Brooks himself standing in the doorway, watching them with an expression that made her breath catch. It was the same look Jessica had worn when she'd first held Haley, wonder mixed with protective determination. "Mrs. Murphy," he said, stepping forward. "Please come inside. We have much to discuss." The storm continued to rage outside as Martha followed Daniel into his lakefront mansion, her arm protectively around Haley's shoulders. The grandeur of the home's interior, with its soaring ceilings, modern art, and floor-to-ceiling windows showcasing the tempestuous lake, was lost on Martha, whose attention remained fixed on the man walking ahead of them. Daniel Brooks led them to a spacious living room where a fire crackled in a minimalist fireplace. Dr. Reed followed close behind, carrying a medical bag. "Please sit." Daniel gestured to a plush sectional sofa. "Can I get you anything? Tea, perhaps?" "Answers would be nice," Martha replied, her voice steadier than she felt. 7 years of careful hiding, of protecting Haley from the truth, and now they were sitting in the lion's den. Daniel nodded, settling into an armchair across from them. "Fair enough. But first, Doctor, Reed should examine your hands. The treatment can begin while we talk." Martha started to protest, but Dr. Reed had already knelt before her, gently taking one of her gnarled hands in her own. "The inflammation is severe," she murmured, her touch professional yet kind. "How long have you been without proper medication?" "Insurance doesn't cover the biologics," Martha said simply. "I make do with over-the-counter pain relievers." Dr. Reed looked up at Daniel, who gave a slight nod. She opened her bag and began preparing an injection. "This will help immediately with the pain and inflammation," she explained. "We'll work out a long-term treatment plan later." As Dr. Reed administered the injection, Daniel turned his attention to Haley, who was staring at him with unnerving intensity. "You have the same mark," she said suddenly, pointing to his wrist where his pushed-up sleeve revealed the star-shaped birthmark. Daniel's expression softened slightly. "Yes, it's called a nevus stellatus. In our family, it's passed down through generations." "Our family," Haley echoed, her eyes widening. Martha stiffened. "Daniel, please!" "She deserves the truth." "Mrs. Murphy," Daniel interrupted gently. "As do I." He leaned forward, his gaze direct. "Jessica was alive after the accident, wasn't she?" A tense silence filled the room, broken only by the crackling of the fire and the distant rumble of thunder. Finally, Martha nodded. Yes, she whispered. She came to me about 7 years ago. Pregnant and terrified, she said people were trying to kill her, that her father had ordered her boyfriend's death and would stop at nothing to silence her too. Daniel's face hardened at the mention of his father. Harrison Brooks had been a complicated man, brilliant but ruthless, especially when it came to protecting the family legacy. She told me she'd discovered something terrible, Martha continued. Your father had stolen the formula for your company's flagship cancer drug from Jessica's boyfriend, a chemist named Michael Murphy. My father? Haley asked, confusion clouding her young face. Martha nodded, her eyes filling with tears. Michael was brilliant, but from a humble background, he developed a revolutionary formula while working in the Brooks research labs. When he realized its value, he approached Harrison directly, hoping for proper credit and compensation. Let me guess, Daniel said grimly. My father refused. Worse, Martha replied. According to Jessica, Harrison arranged for Michael to have an accident in the lab, but not before Michael had shared his breakthrough with Jessica, who had already begun suspecting her father's unethical practices. Daniel stood abruptly, moving to the window to stare out at the storm. Jessica tried to tell me about our father, about her suspicions. I didn't want to believe her. I told her she was being paranoid. His voice was thick with regret. Then she disappeared, and everyone told me she'd died in a car crash in Switzerland. She nearly did die, Martha said softly. Not in Switzerland, but right here in Chicago. Someone ran her car off Lakeshore Drive. She escaped with minor injuries, but knew she had to disappear completely. So she came to you, Daniel concluded, turning back to face them. I was the Brooks family midwife for over 20 years, Martha explained. I delivered both you and Jessica. She trusted me. And her pregnancy. Michael's child, Martha confirmed, placing a protective hand on Haley's shoulder. Jessica stayed with me until Haley was born, then planned to flee to Brazil, where my family has connections, but her health deteriorated rapidly after the birth. Daniel's expression darkened. What do you mean? She believed she was being poisoned. Slowly, over time, even before the car accident, she had all the symptoms of radiation poisoning, though no doctor would confirm it without alerting the authorities. She died, Daniel stated flatly. Martha nodded, tears now streaming down her face. 3 months after Haley was born, her last wish was for me to raise her daughter away from the Brooks family, away from the danger. Haley, who had been listening with wide eyes, suddenly spoke up. Is that why you never told me about my parents? To protect me? Martha gathered the child close. Yes, little star. Your mother loved you more than anything. She wanted you safe. Daniel ran a hand through his hair, his composed CEO demeanor slipping to reveal the grief beneath. I searched for her for years, hired private investigators, but if she was already dead by then, he trailed off, his gaze settling on Haley. She has Jessica's eyes. Outside, the storm seemed to intensify, rain lashing against the windows as if mirroring the emotional tempest within the room. A sudden flash of lightning illuminated the darkness, followed immediately by a deafening crack of thunder that made Haley jump. In the momentary brightness, Caleb appeared in the doorway, his expression grave. Sir, we have a situation. Daniel straightened, instantly alert. What is it? Edward Hughes has been released from the hospital. The toxicology report showed only a mild sedative in his daughter's system, enough to cause a convincing collapse, but not life-threatening. It was a setup, Daniel realized. She never intended to drink from that glass. There's more, Caleb continued. Hughes has men watching the apartment in Riverside, and others have been dispatched to search for the girl. Martha pulled Haley closer, fear evident in her eyes. How could they know about us? The same way I did, Daniel replied grimly. They've been watching me, hoping I'd lead them to any evidence Jessica might have left behind. He turned to Caleb. Security status. Perimeter is secure, sir. I've doubled the guards and activated all protocols. We're safe for now. But Hughes has connections in high places, Daniel finished. Police, city officials. We should leave town, Martha suggested, attempting to stand but wincing as her arthritis protested. Despite Dr. Reed's injection, Daniel shook his head. Running isn't the answer. It's time to end this. To uncover the whole truth and make those responsible pay. And how do you propose to do that? Martha challenged. Edward Hughes is as powerful as you are, and he clearly has evidence to use against you. Evidence about the formula. What formula? Haley asked, her young face serious. Daniel knelt before her, looking directly into her eyes. Jessica's eyes. The CB27 formula. A cancer treatment that has saved millions of lives and made Brooks Holdings billions of dollars. If what your grandmother says is true, it rightfully belongs to your father, Michael Murphy. And to Haley, Martha added firmly. Daniel nodded slowly. Yes, to Haley. His gaze remained locked with the child's. I promise you, I will make this right. But first we need to ensure your safety. Outside. A car's headlights swept across the property, briefly illuminating the room before disappearing again. Dr. Reed, you should return to the hospital, Daniel instructed, standing. Your connection to us can't become public knowledge. Lauren nodded, packing her medical bag. I'll create a treatment plan for Mrs. Murphy and have the medications delivered discreetly. Thank you, Martha said sincerely, already feeling the blessed relief in her joints from the injection. As Dr. Reed departed, Daniel turned to Caleb. Prepare the lake house. We'll move them tonight. Caleb hesitated, an unusual moment of uncertainty crossing his normally impassive features. Sir, perhaps this is the moment to... Their eyes met in a silent exchange laden with unspoken history. Finally, Daniel nodded. Soon, but not yet. There's too much at stake. As Caleb left to make the arrangements, Daniel returned his attention to Martha and Haley. I know you have no reason to trust me. I'm a Brooks, and my family has caused you nothing but pain. But I swear to you, I will protect Haley with my life, not just because she's Jessica's daughter, but because she saved mine tonight. Dawn broke over Lake Michigan, pale light filtering through the clouds as the storm finally subsided. Haley stood at the window of her new bedroom, taking in the manicured grounds of the Brooks estate. Everything about this place felt surreal. From the king-sized bed with its silky sheets, to the ensuite bathroom bigger than their entire apartment in Riverside. A soft knock at the door pulled her from her thoughts. Come in, she called, turning from the window. Martha entered, looking rested despite the tumultuous night. The medication Dr. Reed had administered was clearly working. Her grandmother moved with more ease than Haley had seen in years. How did you sleep, little star? Martha asked, sitting on the edge of the bed. I didn't, much, Haley admitted. It's all so... She gestured vaguely at the room's opulence. Martha nodded, understanding. Different worlds, she murmured, echoing what she'd often told Haley about the divide between the haves and have-nots in Chicago. A second knock announced the arrival of Caleb, who stood respectfully at the threshold. Breakfast is ready downstairs. Mr. Brooks would like to speak with you both afterward. As they followed Caleb through the mansion's corridors, Haley couldn't help but stare. Artwork that probably cost more than their entire apartment building lined the walls. Floor-to-ceiling windows revealed glimpses of gardens, and beyond them, the sparkling lake. Did my mom grow up here? Haley asked suddenly. Caleb's stride faltered almost imperceptibly. No, he answered. The Brooks family estate was downtown when Miss Jessica was a child. Mr. Daniel purchased this property 5 years ago. They reached a sunlit breakfast room where Daniel sat at the head of a glass table, newspaper in hand, a tablet and phone placed carefully beside his coffee cup. He rose when they entered, gesturing to the spread of food laid out before them. Please help yourselves, he said. Mrs. Abernathy, my housekeeper, wasn't sure what Haley might like, so she prepared a variety. Haley's eyes widened at the feast. Fresh fruit, pastries, pancakes, eggs prepared 3 different ways. In Riverside, breakfast was usually oatmeal, or, on special occasions, a shared donut from the bakery down the street. Thank you, Martha said formally, helping Haley to a modest portion before serving herself as they ate. Daniel observed them quietly, his expression thoughtful. When they had finished, he set aside his newspaper and leaned forward. I've made arrangements for your belongings to be collected from the apartment, he said. Caleb's team retrieved everything last night. Clothes, personal items, photographs. They should be delivered here by noon. Martha's eyes narrowed. You had people go through our home. For your protection, Daniel explained. Hughes's men arrived not long after. They searched the apartment thoroughly. Looking for what? Martha demanded. Evidence, Daniel replied. Anything connecting Haley to Jessica or to Brooks Holdings, fortunately. They found nothing of significance. He paused. You were very careful. I had to be, Martha said simply. Daniel nodded, his gaze shifting to Haley, who had been watching the exchange intently. Haley, would you like to see the rest of the house? Mrs. Abernathy could give you a tour while I speak with your grandmother. Haley looked to Martha, who gave a reluctant nod. A plump, cheerful woman appeared as if summoned, introducing herself as Mrs. Abernathy and offering to show Haley the library, with books from floor to ceiling and a ladder that slides, just like in the movies. Once Haley had left, escorted by the housekeeper, Daniel's demeanor changed subtly, the cordial host replaced by the shrewd businessman. Charlotte was released from the hospital this morning, he began without preamble. As expected, she's claiming to have no knowledge of how the sedative got into her glass, suggesting instead that she was the intended victim. Martha snorted. Convenient. Indeed, the police have questions. Naturally, but Edward has ensured they remain, contained for now. Daniel's fingers drummed once on the tabletop. This buys us time, but not much. Time for what, exactly? Martha asked cautiously. To find Jessica's evidence, Daniel replied. She must have kept proof of my father's crimes. Documentation about the stolen formula? Perhaps records of her conversations with him before she disappeared. Martha hesitated. There was a safety deposit box, she finally admitted. Jessica set it up just before Haley was born. I don't know what's in it, only that she said it contained everything needed to bring down Harrison Brooks and Edward Hughes. Daniel straightened, his eyes sharpening. You have the key. No, Jessica designed it with a different kind of security. She said it would open only for someone with the Brooks birthmark, a biometric scanner of some kind, keyed to the unique pattern. That's ingenious, Daniel said, genuine admiration in his voice. Where is this box? First National Bank, downtown branch, under the name Jessica Murphy, the alias she used in her final months. Daniel nodded, already pulling his phone toward him. I'll have Caleb make arrangements immediately. We'll need to... He was interrupted by the sound of running footsteps. Haley burst into the room, her eyes wide with excitement. Uncle Daniel, Mrs. Abernathy showed me the library, and I found a book with my dad's name in it. His picture, too. Daniel and Martha exchanged startled glances as Haley placed a heavy scientific journal on the table. It was open to an article titled Theoretical Applications of Nano-Delivery Systems in Targeted Cancer Therapy by Michael Murphy. PhD, that's him, Daniel asked, studying the small author photo of a young man with intelligent eyes and an earnest smile. Must be, Martha confirmed. Jessica showed me a few photos, but they were lost when we had to move quickly after her death. Haley traced her finger over her father's face. He looks nice, she said simply. Smart too. He was brilliant, Martha said softly. Jessica said he could have won a Nobel Prize someday if he'd lived. Daniel studied the article, his expression unreadable. This theory, it's the foundation of the CB27 formula, published 3 months before my father filed the patent application. He looked up, his jaw tight. This is part of the proof we need. Haley looked between them, sensing the tension. Did I do something wrong? No, little star, Martha assured her quickly. You found something very important. Indeed you did, Daniel agreed, his voice gentler when addressing his niece. You have your father's eye for detail. It seems, Haley beamed at the comparison. The moment was interrupted by Caleb's entrance. Sir, Dr. Reed is here to see Mrs. Murphy, and there's a situation developing at the company. The board is calling an emergency meeting. Daniel stood. Show Dr. Reed in. I'll take the call in my office, to Martha, he added. We'll continue our discussion later. For now, you and Haley should remain inside the house. The grounds are secure, but it's safer not to venture out. As Daniel strode from the room, Haley watched him with the same intense focus she'd shown at the Crown. He's worried, she observed, and sad, but he's going to help us. Martha pulled her granddaughter close. I hope so, little star. I truly hope so. Through the window, they could see Daniel pacing the terrace, phone to his ear, his free hand gesturing emphatically. Beyond him, The waters of Lake Michigan stretched calm and blue under the clearing sky, a deceptive serenity that belied the storm still raging in their lives. The week that followed Haley's dramatic entrance into Daniel's life passed in a blur of medical appointments for Martha and security briefings for the household. Dr. Reed became a regular visitor, bringing state-of-the-art treatments that Martha could never have afforded on her own, with each visit. The relationship between the doctor and Daniel grew more apparent, though both maintained professional distance when others were present. On the 7th day, as summer rain pattered gently against the windows, Martha's condition took a sudden turn for the worse. Dr. Reed was called immediately. Arriving with a medical bag and concerned expression, "Her immune system is compromised from years of inadequate treatment," she explained to Daniel after examining Martha. "The new medications are effective, but her body is struggling to adjust." Haley sat beside her grandmother's bed, holding her frail hand. Despite being only 7, there was a gravity to her demeanor that spoke of a child who had seen too much hardship too young. "Is Grandma going to die?" she asked directly when Dr. Reed entered the room. Lauren Reed, who had grown increasingly fond of the precocious child, knelt beside her. "She's very sick. Haley, her body has been fighting for a long time without the help it needed. We're doing everything we can." Martha stirred, her eyes fluttering open. "Haley, little star," she whispered, "go with Dr. Reed for a while. I need to speak with Daniel." Haley hesitated, her intuitive sense alert to the gravity of the moment. "But, please, sweetheart, it's important." Dr. Reed gently took Haley's hand. "How about we go to the kitchen and see if Mrs. Abernathy will let us make those chocolate chip cookies you mentioned yesterday?" Once they had left, Martha gestured weakly for Daniel to come closer. "I don't have much time," she said without preamble, her voice surprisingly strong despite her condition. "Don't talk like that," Daniel replied, taking the seat Haley had vacated. "Lauren is the best rheumatologist in Chicago. This isn't just the arthritis," Martha interrupted. "I've been sick for a while now. Cancer, stage 4, diagnosed 3 months ago." Daniel's expression shifted from concern to shock. "Why didn't you say something? We could have—" "There's nothing to be done. I've accepted it." Martha's eyes, though clouded with pain, remained clear and determined. "But before I go, you need to know everything." Outside, the rain intensified, drumming against the windows as if nature itself was providing a shield of white noise for the secrets about to be revealed. "I wasn't entirely truthful before," Martha began, "about Jessica's death. It wasn't radiation poisoning, though she did have those symptoms." Daniel leaned forward, his entire body tense. "What was it?" "Poison, administered slowly over time." Jessica realized it too late, only after Haley was born and the symptoms became too severe to ignore. Martha's breathing grew labored, and she paused to gather strength before continuing. She had blood tests done under a false name. The results showed elevated levels of thallium, untraceable when administered carefully, fatal in the long run. "Hughes," Daniel growled, his hands clenching into fists. "No," Martha corrected, her eyes never leaving his. "Your father." The words hung in the air between them, heavy with accusation and horror. "That's not possible," Daniel said, though doubt had already crept into his voice. "My father was many things, but he wouldn't. He found out she was pregnant with Michael's child." Martha continued relentlessly. "A child who could one day have claim to the Brooks fortune and, more importantly, to the truth about the stolen formula. He couldn't let that happen." Daniel stood abruptly, pacing to the window. The grounds of his estate blurred behind the rain-streaked glass, mirroring the chaos in his mind. "If what you're saying is true, why didn't Jessica come to me? I would have protected her." "She tried," Martha said softly. "The night before she died in Switzerland, she called you, twice. You never answered." The memory hit Daniel like a physical blow. He had been in Tokyo, negotiating a major acquisition. He'd seen Jessica's calls but been too busy to answer, promising himself he'd call her back. By the time he returned to Chicago, the news of her death had already broken. "She left you a letter," Martha continued, "in the safety deposit box, along with evidence against your father and Hughes." Daniel turned back to her, his expression haunted. "And the box will only open for someone with the Brooks birthmark." Martha nodded weakly. "She designed it that way to ensure only you or Haley could access it. She trusted you in the end." despite everything. "I failed her," Daniel said, his voice thick with regret. "You can make it right now," Martha replied, "by protecting her daughter, by giving Haley the life Jessica wanted for her." Daniel moved back to the bedside, taking Martha's frail hand in his. "I swear to you, I will keep Haley safe. I'll make sure she inherits everything that rightfully belongs to her, both from the Brooks side and from her father's work." Martha seemed to relax slightly, as if a burden had been lifted. "There's one more thing you should know," she paused, gathering her strength. "About Caleb." Daniel's expression sharpened. "What about him? He's not just your employee." Martha's voice had dropped to barely above a whisper. "He's your half-brother." The revelation struck Daniel speechless. His mind raced through years of interactions with Caleb, the man's unwavering loyalty, his knowledge of Brooks' family matters, his careful distance yet constant presence. "My father and..." Daniel struggled to process this new information. "Your father and a housekeeper named Elaine Washington. It happened years before he married your mother." Martha's breathing grew more labored. "Jessica discovered the truth during her investigation into your father's business dealings. She confronted Caleb with it. He knew all this time." Daniel felt decades of trust suddenly recontextualized. Jessica made him promise to watch over her child if anything happened to her. He's been keeping that promise from a distance all these years. Martha's grip on Daniel's hand tightened with surprising strength. "Don't blame him. Your father threatened his mother's life if he ever revealed their connection." A soft knock at the door interrupted them. Caleb himself stood in the doorway, his usual stoic expression tinged with concern. "Dr. Reed asked me to check if you needed anything," he said, his eyes moving from Daniel to Martha. The air between the men crackled with unspoken truth as Daniel regarded the person who was, apparently, his brother. After a moment, he nodded. "We're fine. Thank you, Caleb." Something in Daniel's tone must have alerted Caleb that things had changed. He hesitated, then gave a slight nod before withdrawing. Martha's eyes were growing heavy. "Promise me," she whispered. "Promise me you'll tell Haley everything when she's old enough to understand." "I promise," Daniel replied solemnly. "She'll know about her mother's courage, her father's brilliance, and your unwavering protection." A faint smile touched Martha's lips as her eyes closed. "She has Jessica's spirit and Michael's mind, and that intuition of hers. It's special, more than just good instincts." "I know," Daniel said softly. "She saved my life with it." "Keep her safe," Martha murmured, her voice fading as exhaustion overtook her. "Edward Hughes won't stop until he has what he wants." And now, there's only Haley standing in his way. As Martha drifted into sleep, Daniel remained by her side, his mind reeling from revelations that had shattered his understanding of his family and his past. Outside, the rain continued to fall, washing the world clean, but some stains, he knew, could never be removed. 11 years later, sunlight streamed through the tall windows of the Brooks mansion, illuminating Haley's bedroom as she carefully applied mascara. The nervous flutter in her stomach had been building all morning. Today was both her 18th birthday and her first day of pre-med classes at Northwestern University. "Just relax," she told her reflection. "You've been preparing for this your whole life." A gentle knock at the door interrupted her pep talk. "Come in," she called, setting down the mascara wand. Daniel entered, carrying a small gift box wrapped in silver paper. At 56, he remained an imposing figure, still handsome, though his dark hair had turned completely silver at the temples, giving him a distinguished appearance that enhanced his authority in the business world. "Happy birthday," he said warmly, handing her the box. Haley smiled, accepting the gift. "Thanks, Uncle Daniel. You didn't have to get me anything. The party tonight is more than enough." "This is special," he replied, gesturing for her to open it. Haley carefully unwrapped the package, revealing a velvet jewelry box. Inside lay a platinum pendant in the shape of a star, identical to the birthmark on her wrist. "It's beautiful," she whispered, lifting it from the box. "It was your mother's," Daniel explained. "Jessica wore it every day. I found it in her personal effects after." He didn't need to finish the sentence, after the safety deposit box had finally been opened, revealing all the evidence Jessica had gathered against Harrison Brooks and Edward Hughes. Evidence that had ultimately vindicated her, but had come too late to save her. Haley fastened the pendant around her neck, touching it gently. Thank you. This means everything to me. There's more, Daniel said, taking a seat on the edge of her bed. Tonight, at the party, I'll be making an announcement. I wanted you to know about it first. Haley sat beside him, immediately alert over the years. She'd grown accustomed to reading the subtle shifts in her uncle's demeanor. What kind of announcement? I'm stepping down as CEO of Brooks Holdings, he said simply, and naming you as my successor. Haley's eyes widened. But I'm only 18. I don't know anything about running a pharmaceutical company. I'm just starting pre-med. Not immediately, Daniel clarified with a slight smile. You'll complete your education first. In the meantime, Caleb will serve as interim CEO. At the mention of Caleb, Haley nodded. The revelation of Caleb's true identity as Daniel's half-brother had been one of many family secrets unraveled over the years. After Martha's death, Caleb had stepped fully into his role as Haley's protector and mentor, becoming as much an uncle to her as Daniel himself. What about Lauren? Haley asked. Dr. Reed had married Daniel 4 years ago, becoming the mother figure Haley had needed after Martha's passing. She fully supports the decision, Daniel assured her. In fact, it was partly her idea, she believes as I do, that Brooks Holdings should rightfully belong to you, as Jessica's daughter and Michael Murphy's child. Haley absently rubbed the star-shaped birthmark on her wrist, a habit she'd never outgrown. And Edward Hughes, what's to stop him from challenging this? Daniel's expression hardened slightly. Hughes has been neutralized for the most part. The evidence from your mother's safety deposit box destroyed his credibility in the business world. His company is a shell of what it once was. But he's still out there, Haley pointed out, her intuition. That uncanny ability to sense danger and deception had only grown stronger as she matured. It had saved their lives more than once over the years. Yes, Daniel acknowledged, which is why security for tonight's party has been doubled. But you don't need to worry about that. Today is for celebration. Haley wasn't convinced, but she nodded anyway. What time does it start again? 7 o'clock. The governor confirmed he'll attend, along with the mayor and several senators. Your mother's exposure of corporate corruption touched many lives. People remember. After Daniel left, Haley returned to her vanity, studying her reflection. At 18, she was the spitting image of Jessica, the same hazel eyes flecked with gold, the same determined set to her jaw, but her analytical mind, her interest in medicine, those came from her father, the brilliant chemist whose work had been stolen but was now properly credited in all Brooks publications. Her phone chimed with a text from her best friend Zoe. Ready for tonight. Birthday girl, Mom's letting me borrow the dress. Haley smiled, typing back a quick response before gathering her things for class. As she headed downstairs, she passed the portrait of Jessica that hung in the main hallway, commissioned from photographs after Martha's revelation of her true fate. Sometimes, Haley talked to it, telling her mother about her day or asking questions that would never be answered. In the kitchen, Lauren was reviewing patient files over coffee. She looked up with a warm smile when Haley entered. Happy birthday, sweetie. Excited for your first day. Nervous, Haley admitted, accepting the mug of coffee Lauren offered. But good nervous. You'll be brilliant, Lauren assured her. Just like your father. The mention of Michael Murphy never failed to fill Haley with a mixture of pride and longing. Though she'd never known him, his legacy lived on in the reformulated CB27 drug that now bore his name, Murphy's Solution, and in the scholarship Daniel had established in his honor at Northwestern's chemistry department. Caleb entered, dressed impeccably as always. At 51, he remained as physically fit as he'd been at 40, though lines of experience creased his face. Your security detail is ready whenever you are, he informed Haley. She rolled her eyes good-naturedly. I still think having bodyguards at college is overkill. Humor me, Caleb replied with the hint of a smile. Standard protocol for the future CEO of Brooks Holdings. Fine, Haley conceded, finishing her coffee. But they stay in the background. I don't want to be known as that weird rich kid with the security team. Agreed, Caleb said, checking his watch. Your first class is at 10. We should leave soon to avoid traffic. As Haley gathered her backpack, a news alert flashed on the kitchen television. The anchor's voice filled the room. Breaking news, Charlotte Hughes, daughter of pharmaceutical magnate Edward Hughes, has been released from Palm Springs Rehabilitation Center after her 6th stint in rehab. Sources close to the family say she plans to attend the gala for Haley Brooks's 18th birthday tonight. Despite the long-standing feud between the families, the room went silent. Haley, Lauren, and Caleb all stared at the screen where Charlotte's gaunt face appeared briefly before cutting back to the news anchor. "I didn't invite her," Haley said quietly. "Of course not," Lauren assured her. Caleb was already on his phone, presumably contacting security. Daniel appeared in the doorway, his expression grim. "I heard," he said. "I'll handle it." But Haley shook her head, a familiar determination settling over her features. "No, let her come." "Haley," Daniel began. "My intuition isn't screaming danger," she explained. "And if she does try something, we'll be prepared, besides." A small, dangerous smile curved her lips. "I think it's time I met the woman who tried to poison you all those years ago." As she headed for the door, the star pendant catching the light at her throat, Haley couldn't shake the feeling that Charlotte's sudden reappearance was more than coincidence. Something was brewing. Something connected to the past her mother had died to expose. But that was a problem for tonight. Today was about embracing her future. The ballroom of the Brooks mansion glittered with lights and laughter as Chicago's elite gathered to celebrate Haley's 18th birthday. Crystal chandeliers cast prismatic reflections across the marble floor where guests mingled, champagne flutes in hand. A string quartet played softly in one corner, their music a refined backdrop to the evening's festivities. Haley stood at the top of the grand staircase, momentarily hidden from view as she gathered her courage. Her emerald gown, custom designed to complement her hazel eyes, cascaded elegantly to the floor. The star pendant gleamed at her throat, a tangible connection to the mother she'd never really known. "Ready?" Daniel appeared beside her, resplendent in a tuxedo, Lauren on his arm in a midnight blue evening gown. Haley nodded, her heart racing. "As I'll ever be." "Remember," Caleb murmured from her other side, his vigilant eyes already scanning the crowd below. "Security is positioned throughout the room, at the first sign of trouble." "I know," Haley interrupted gently. "I'll be fine." She had grown used to the protective bubble her family had created around her. Sometimes it felt smothering, but tonight she was grateful for it. The quartet fell silent as the master of ceremonies announced, "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. and Mrs. Daniel Brooks, and the guest of honor, Miss Haley Brooks." All eyes turned toward the staircase as Haley descended between Daniel and Lauren. Her chin high, her steps measured, the crowd erupted in applause. Phones raised to capture the moment. Among the sea of faces, Haley searched for one in particular. Charlotte Hughes stood near the back of the room, a flute of sparkling water in her hand. At 49, she remained striking despite the ravages of addiction that had hollowed her cheeks and dulled the once brilliant shine of her dark hair. When their eyes met across the ballroom, Charlotte raised her glass in a mocking toast. "She's here," Haley murmured to Daniel. "I see her," he replied, his smile never faltering for the benefit of their guests. "Caleb has someone watching her." The evening progressed with all the elegance expected of a Brooks gathering. Haley danced with the governor, accepted congratulations from university deans, and discussed her future medical career with leading physicians, all while maintaining a gracious smile that revealed none of the tension brewing beneath the surface. Finally, as midnight approached, Daniel clinked a spoon against his champagne flute. Calling for silence, the crowd quieted, attention turning to their host. "Friends, colleagues, honored guests," Daniel began, his voice carrying easily across the ballroom. 11 years ago, my life changed forever when a 7-year-old girl with extraordinary intuition saved me from a poisoning attempt. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. The story had become somewhat legendary in Chicago circles. That night, I discovered that this remarkable child was my niece, the daughter of my beloved sister Jessica, who had been taken from us too soon. Haley moved to stand beside her uncle, her head held high as whispers cascaded through the audience. Many new parts of the story, the public version that had been carefully crafted to protect certain sensitive details. Tonight, as Haley turns 18, Daniel continued, I am proud to announce that she will be named heir to Brooks Holdings and will assume the role of CEO upon completion of her medical education. The announcement triggered a mixture of applause and surprised exclamations. Near the back of the room, Charlotte's face twisted with barely contained fury. Furthermore, Daniel pressed on, Effective immediately, our company will be renamed the Jessica Brooks Foundation, with 50% of all profits directed toward providing affordable medications to those who cannot access them otherwise. This honors both Jessica's memory and the legacy of Michael Murphy, Haley's father, whose groundbreaking work was the true foundation of our company's success. A hush fell over the crowd. As the implications of this announcement registered, Daniel was publicly acknowledging what had only been whispered about for years, that the original Brooks fortune had been built, in part, on stolen intellectual property. I would now like to invite Haley to say a few words, Daniel concluded, stepping aside. Haley approached the microphone, her heart hammering against her ribs. This moment, this public declaration, had been years in the planning. Thank you all for being here tonight, she began, her voice steady despite her nerves. As most of you know, I never had the chance to know my parents. My mother died protecting me from those who would have silenced her. My father died never knowing I existed. The room was utterly silent now, every guest transfixed by the poised young woman before them. But through the courage of my grandmother Martha, who raised me in secret for 7 years, and through my uncle Daniel, who welcomed me into his home and heart, I stand before you today ready to accept the responsibility of my heritage. Haley touched the star pendant at her throat. This mark we bear, she held up her wrist, displaying the birthmark, is more than just a family trait. It's a symbol of the truth that can never remain hidden, no matter how deep it's buried. From her clutch, Haley withdrew a small device, a prototype of the newest Murphy's solution delivery system, designed to be affordable for developing nations. This is my father's legacy, not just a breakthrough drug, but the belief that medicine should heal everyone, not just those who can afford it. Her gaze found Charlotte in the crowd, then shifted to where Edward Hughes stood near the exit, his aged face twisted with contempt. Some people here tonight once tried to bury these truths. They failed. The light always finds a way through the darkness. The crowd erupted in applause as Haley stepped back from the microphone. Daniel embraced her, pride evident in every line of his face. Lauren joined them, completing the family circle that had formed so unexpectedly 11 years before. As the celebration continued around them, Caleb approached with urgency in his step. Edward Hughes just left, he reported quietly, and Charlotte is headed for the East Terrace. Daniel and Haley exchanged a glance. I'll handle this, Haley said with quiet determination. Not alone, Daniel insisted, but Haley shook her head. I need to do this. My intuition isn't warning me of danger. She smiled reassuringly. Besides, Caleb's security team is watching, right? Reluctantly, Daniel nodded. Be careful. Haley made her way through the crowd, accepting congratulations with brief smiles as she moved toward the terrace doors. Outside, the summer night was warm and fragrant, with the scent of roses from the garden below. Charlotte stood at the balustrade, staring out at the moonlit lake. I wondered if you'd come, Charlotte said, without turning. You have her eyes, you know. Jessica's. I always hated that about her. How those eyes seem to see right through people. My mother saw through you, Haley replied calmly, joining her at the railing but maintaining a cautious distance. Just as I did 11 years ago. Charlotte laughed bitterly. A lucky guess from a street urchin. Not luck, Haley corrected. Intuition. The same intuition that tells me you're not here to cause trouble tonight. You're here because you're tired. Tired of carrying your father's secrets. Tired of living with what you've done. Charlotte's composure cracked, just slightly. You don't know anything about me. I know your father used you. I know he promised you'd rule Brooks Holdings together once Daniel was out of the way. I know he's the one who slipped the poison into Jessica's food for months. While you looked the other way, Charlotte's hands tightened on the stone balustrade. Clever girl, so like your mother. She turned to face Haley fully. What do you want from me? Your testimony, Haley said simply. Against your father, for everything he did to my parents. Something like relief flickered across Charlotte's face. He's dying, you know. 6 months, maybe less. Pancreatic cancer. I know, Haley replied. Justice has a way of coming full circle. Inside the ballroom, the string quartet began a new piece. Vivaldi's Spring, with its notes of renewal and rebirth. Haley extended her hand, the star birthmark clearly visible on her wrist. It's not too late to make things right, Charlotte. As their hands clasped, somewhere in the Brooks nursery, Lauren and Daniel's newborn daughter slept peacefully, the tiny star-shaped birthmark on her wrist a promise that the legacy of truth would continue for generations to come.